Alli, how do women maintain their value when the message that we get from everywhere is that as we age, we are just becoming less important and more invisible?
Invisible. Well, thankfully we have our guest today, Miss Jen Marples, that is has no bones about it, how she is gonna help us to be out there in that next chapter of life and do all the things. She's the podcast host of the Jen Marples Show, and she's also a pioneer in women's health and just stepping out and after midlife and doing all the big things. And just a heads up, typically, our podcasts are G-rated, but I do want to give you all a warning that Jen has her branding has some language in it, so you may hear some F-bombs. So just a heads up before you listen to the episode, we want to give you that warning. It's one you don't want to miss.
And before we dive in, let's give a shout out to Lisa Ray. Thank you for listening, and now let's dive in.
Welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, where we dive deep into pressing health and fitness issues facing aging women. I'm Alli Kerr.
And I'm Shawna Kaminski. And together we'll bring candid conversations, expert advice, and personal stories that will inspire and empower you on your own wellness journey.
Jen, we are so happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on your show.
Well, you have a really strong and powerful, more empowering message for women. And maybe you could just give us a little bit of background on what led you to start your mission, like focused on aging, that you're just not too old.
Yeah. Can we swear on this podcast?
You can, yes.
Because the full phrase is you're not too fucking old.
Correct.
And it's a really important distinction because, rewind, and I'll get to the distinction in a second, but, rewind, I'm 55 now, about to turn 56 in a few months, which at a certain point, I'm like, I don't even know how old I am anymore. I feel like it's how we feel. But, I wasn't always this way. I remember dreading turning 40, and this is because of all the society's messages about women. And you guys all know this, and I'm sure you've talked about it ad nauseum on the show. But when I really hit 50, I was at this inflection point. I used to own a PR firm, and I had shut that down sort of my mid-40s. I called it kind of my first midlife crisis awakening, but I was also completely burned out, and that's a whole other conversation for another time. But the long and short of it is I had a PR firm in San Francisco. I was doing crisis communications, and I had 3 babies in 2 years, 3 kids in diapers, living in the city. My husband's an entrepreneur, and it was a crazy shit show. Everybody outside got the best of me, and I gave myself the worst. I mean, I think everyone can relate where we put ourselves dead last in the pecking order. So to make a long story short, I shut down my firm. I slowly started winding down my firm a little over 10 years ago, and then completely shut it down. And then I was just doing kind of consulting on the side. And so nothing big and fancy, like doing crazy stuff with a big firm. And then I kind of woke up one day and I was like, the time is now to go all in on supporting women. And it's something I've done my whole life. I've always been the gathering of the friends. I've always been the you can get the job, you can get the guy. I've helped so many friends, like even now, like let's look at the resume, let's help get jobs, let's career counseling, all that. It's just like, I think it's the PR gal nature in me. I'm like always willing to help other women get out there, be seen, heard, the whole 9 yards. And so I dipped my toe. I was consulting, and then I was like, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do next. I know I wanted to support women, but I was kind of like, we all don't have that confidence in ourselves. Like, I don't know if I'm going to start another business or if I'm going to go work for somebody. I went to speak with a recruiter who I knew, and he was like, basically in no uncertain terms, he's like, you're too old. No one's going to pay you. And then the PR world, it's a young person's game unless you go sit in-house. And specifically because no one wants to pay you. No one cares that you have 25 plus years of experience. They want someone with 10 years of experience because they don't have to pay. Like, okay, well, thank you for your honesty. And then I went to go meet with a couple like venture capital firms and people in the food business. And my whole PR firm had been on food, wine, and travel. So I was kind of like just exploring that. And it just I became acutely aware of how I was being perceived and how everyone was looking for somebody in their 30s. And so I did a little contract work here and there. And then I was like, I've always bet on me. I had another company. I'm going to bet on me. So I just started like dipping my toe into a few things. And then I'd also, sidebar, had wanted to do a podcast for about 2 years. So then it was finally like really bubbling up. And that combined with, were in our first year of sort of the COVID era where everything was just being dismantled. And I was like, I really firmly believe like I'm being tapped. Like Jesus himself came down and was like, girl, it is time to go all in on supporting women. So I very quickly was like, okay, who do I need? What do I need to do? I got myself a business coach. Like, how do I do this? Podcast, become a business coach. I'd owned a PR firm. And so this was kind of a little bit of new territory because I'm used to putting other people first, but like putting me out there with a mic, like that was not in my nature. Even though I was a spokesperson back in the day for some of my clients, it's very easy to be a spokesperson for a company because it's all on them. But when as you know, you've got your podcast, when you are the face of your business now, it's a completely different ballgame. So hired this coach and within a few months launched this podcast, which is the Jen Marples Show. And I launched that September of 2021 because I just told you guys it was a 4-year anniversary, right? It's dog years at this point. But I really realized a lot of women were feeling like, what was next? Like, I was feeling all the things. I'm like, I'm feeling all the things. So I just started also having on the side all these conversations with women, totally afraid to turn 50. And, at this time of life too, women's marriages are blowing up or their kids are out the door or out to go out the door. I haven't worked for a while. What do I do? Or I'm in corporate and I'm feeling super fried and burned out. And I know there's something more for me. So all these conversations were happening. I'm like, all right, we need to band together. We need to talk about this stuff. And so really that's how everything was born. And here's a funny story. When I was like, okay, we'll just call it the Jen Marples Show. I was going to call it You're Not Too Fucking Old to begin with. We just didn't know that was 4 years ago, if that was just going to like ding me or whatever. But I was recording the intro and the outro and my girls who are now 18, they're twins. I was like, you're not too old. And then I did the one with, you're not too fucking old. And then I heard the girls going, yes, mom. I'm like, okay, well, that's the catchy one. We've got to go with that. And so that's really just how You're Not Too Fucking Old was born. Also, was that the mantra needed to smack you between the eyes and kind of shake you out of a stupor. Because we all are, and I don't talk about anything that I haven't experienced truly. Like we all are in that doing things for others. We're just ticking that box of we were told to stay in that job and do the thing and have the kids and be married and the house and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, is it okay that none of this is okay? And that maybe you want to blow some things up and do some different things. And so, and I think too, there is an activist part of me too, that no one's going to tell us what we can't do. And I know you all have dealt with stuff in the corporate world, I'm sure. And we're all fighting for voices to be heard. I see it with my kids and hopefully all this will change. But I'm like, if we're just not too old, meh. So that You're Not Too Fucking Old. It's just a rage against the machine and a little bit of a thumbs up or a middle finger rather to any person who has tried to keep us down and put us in a corner. Because I truly believe when we hit midlife, we are in our prime and we can do whatever we want. So, the men are out there doing whatever they want. And so
I love that. I love it that you're talking about in our prime, we can do things. And we're normally more of a G-rated show. So I think it is a slap in the face when you know, that terminology. So it is that wake up thing and it may kind of be a little much for some, but I also appreciate that it's like you're like, I'm gonna get your attention and here's the deal, ladies. Let's not just kind of fold and be like, okay, I'm midlife, let me just crawl in a hole now. And whatever comes will come, but like actually being proactive and starting that's really brave of you, Jen, that you really started this whole new adventure, I'm going to call it, during a time when many of us might go to that advisor who tells us nobody's going to hire you. And we may just take whatever job we can get. And I love that you were like, no, that's not going to work for me.
We're going to interrupt this interview for just a second because we've got something we want to make sure that you know.
If you're struggling with your health, with your fitness, if you don't know where to start or you know what to do and you're not doing it, we're here for you.
And all you need to do to get our help is to reach out to Shawna and I at our email, sapodcast23@gmail.com. And we're happy to help and we will be in touch. Now back to the show.
Well, it's funny that you said about I know the whole mantra, it's polarizing to a certain degree, and I knew that. And I was actually on one of my friends' podcasts who owns a PR firm, and we had been PR colleagues for years. And we talked about the power of language. And, and I told this, I also business coach clients and things that I help women get out there to step into the spotlight. Because, it takes help to get out there. Like I was just telling you, to get out there in the world. But I'm like, I know I'm going to lose some people, and it's okay because I said, we're not avocados and margaritas. Not everyone's going to like us. I mean, that's just how life is. But I said, it's too important. I have to cut through the noise because everyone's saying you're not too old, but it's and it's not like I sit around and swear 24/7. It's just meant to be a rallying cry. And it's also this, for any time we were told we were too something. We've all been told you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too loud, you're too quiet. It's like you can't win. I remember I was giving a keynote speech about women supporting women 2 years ago. And it was wonderful because there was young women in their 20s, women all the way into their 60s represented. And when we're all kind of done doing our talks, this one young gal came up and she was in her mid-20s and she was talking about all the stuff how do I get my word in? And it's well, you have to realize there's no winnings. You just have to shove your way in. And we were all guiding her on, how to do that. And it's that whole thing where no one expects you to say something, but still they expect you to say something. And if you say it too loud, oh gosh, you're so bossy. And I'm really hoping all this is going to change because women are just judged differently than men are. And we all know that. So it's oh, he's assertive. Oh, you're bossy. Oh, he's so decisive. Oh, you're kind of bitchy, So it's really kind of where it all came from. And, we have fun with it. I'm just going to show you guys one of my stickers. We kind of shorten it to hashtag YNTFO. So it's we don't always have to say all the words. So now it's just YNTFO has become the mantra. So people will send me memes. They'll send me DMs all the time. And they're like, I'm doing something because YNTFO. And I'm like, YNTFO is right. So that's to date. It's to lose weight. It's to work. It's to quit working. It's to travel the world. It's to do whatever you want. And so I'm very passionate about it because literally, if someone told you right now, you just couldn't do anything anymore until the end of time, I'd probably jump off a bridge. Yeah. I mean, I just think we have so much to offer. And because society has told us you are expired, you've got all this brain power that's not being encouraged and not being utilized. And I know you want to say something, but I'll say this one thing. And it has really extreme economic disadvantages to women because I've just did a couple panels at Human Tech Week in the spring here in San Francisco. And we talked about income disparity and how women as a whole have less money by the time I think they're 65 because if it's due to divorce. I mean, all the stats are sort of pointed against us. I don't want this to be depressing to everyone, but that's why I'm really passionate about you're just not too old. You're just not too old because you don't want to get into a position like that. Because life circumstances happen. So anyway, I could talk for hours about this, but I'm very passionate about supporting women and that we need to be supporting each other.
And I think that words are really important. And it's the things that we tell ourselves. And when we have a strong message like that, I think women, obviously you found, have resonated with it. Because it is a powerful message and it does slap you in the face. So, you've come up with this mantra, you've come up with this, you've got your podcast, you've got your agency. But how do you actually work with women, to support them? You talk about women's support, supporting women. So what do you actually do for them to kind of push them along?
So glad you asked that. So a number of different things. So for, entry level is listen to the podcast because you're going to get all sorts of information to help you, live your life and go do whatever you want. And I focus on the areas and kind of everything I do around self self, health, sort of wealth, meaning mostly like career pivoting and all of that. And then community, because the community connections and friendships are really important. So the first way I do it is I have an agency, the Jen Marples Agency. So that is more formalized. So that's business coaching. That's also marketing and PR help for small business owners, entrepreneurs. So that is to help. And I work with small companies as well. Do media training, help women really, if they're starting out, kind of getting kicked off, or they've been in business for a while and they're just, a lot of my clients, and it's really interesting too. So many women, and they can be in the highest echelon sort of roles, even within corporate. Everyone is afraid to be seen and to step out and to speak, because everyone wants to do some different things and they want to rise in leadership or go sit on boards or be seen, get more clients. I mean, we're kind of all the same, no matter kind of where we are in the spectrum business-wise. So I love helping women kind of like break the barriers and you just got to start doing, and there's like ways to do it. But we have to just get over ourselves and just go and get out there. And I like to tell everyone, if nobody sees you, nobody sees you. Because in this day and age, I mean, the day and age we live in, you've got to be out there. We can't be hiding in our offices. I think people are going to hear about us. So I love the agency aspect. So I love helping entrepreneurs, get things off the ground, or established entrepreneurs, help them, zhuzh things up and get them to where they want to go. And I also do a lot of bringing women together, speaking, bringing speakers together, groups. I was telling you about this Human Tech Week event I did in June, and we had 4 different panel discussions around women's health, leadership in the age of AI, community and connections, and sort of women's health and longevity. So all the things I really care about. And so those things are great because that doesn't cost anybody much to kind of attend those. And I'm really passionate about making those accessible. That's why I have the podcast too, because not everyone can afford to work with me or do big things, but you can learn. And that's how I was learning, just sidebar, and why I love podcasts so much, because we're all multitaskers. So if I'm driving a kid somewhere or cleaning the house, then you get a little education going and you can do all the things. And so that's why we're busy. So I got the podcast, I've got events and bringing women together. And I'm also probably going to be kicking off a couple retreats starting early next year. And then I go into organizations and speak. So I'm going to be speaking at a Flow Space women's health event in a month. It's September now. That's in October. Speaking, we talked about Anne Marie McQueen. That's a hard one to get out all at once. My dear friend who you all just had on, who's fabulous. She's got a big conference coming up. So I'm speaking at her conference. So, my whole thing is just get me in front of everybody and let me help as many women as I can. Because I'm really, truly committed to helping over 1 million women really just step into their power and realize they're not too old to do whatever they want. So it's I've got stickers. I've got all these things. You can write it on a sticky. Just put it on your mirror and just go, you're not too old, honey. That's just society. It's just BS. Because it's not the truth. You can do whatever you want. Truly.
If you had some practical advice for someone that's listening, that before they listen to your podcast or go to an event, what can someone do right now today to empower themselves, that they're not too old? What would you tell someone? What practical steps would you give Mrs. Jones or Mrs. Smith right out the gate?
Well, you've got to, first of all, examine your life, because I can tell you that you're not too old all day long. And then when we're all in the throes of perimenopause and menopause, and there could be a lot of things going on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in midlife. I am no stranger to it. My mom was in the hospital a couple months ago. My son went back to college. My girls are seniors in high school. We're doing all of that. I've been married to the same man. God bless him. But, we've been together 27, 28 years. That comes with all of that too, right? So there's all the stuff. There's all the stuff that we're dealing with. So my number one piece of advice is this is the time to put yourself first. And if there's something going on and you just don't feel right, or you're I feel stressed, I have anxiety, or you can't quite cope with a kid going away, which that's really top of mind for me, because it just that particularly knocked me out. Put yourself first, and then just get the help that you need, even if it's just talking to a girlfriend, because that's the other thing. Even before I started the podcast, I started doing events and bringing women together. And my hypothesis was that women were feeling really disconnected and alone, even in our connected to society. And, with social media, everyone sees the highlight reel. Oh, everyone's life is perfect and vacations and this and that and the other. And we all know it's a bunch of crap, because some days you got to do everything you can and dig in deep to get all the tools just to take a shower and get up and go about your day. So the number one thing I would do is just really check yourself. How are you? That's why I'm really, so hell-bent on bringing really great health professionals and things on the podcast, because I can tell you you're great all day long, but if you don't believe it, but you don't feel good because you're going through menopause, perimenopause, you ain't going to be able to hear any of it. So you've got to take this time to kind of get your own personal house in order. And that might be the thing that you need to work on for the next year before you try to make any big changes and go, oh, Jen's telling me I'm not too old, but she is telling you to take care of your health. And I know of what I speak because I've been in that road for perimenopause. That was a very rocky, crazy journey. Not even know until, I don't know, a year or two into it, a doctor finally said, this is what's happening. I was like, what? I thought it was just crazy mom burnout, young kids running a company, but hormone fluctuations and breaking out. I was having deep, dark thoughts. No one had ever talked about it. Thankfully, now we're all talking about it. And then just things change. It's and not everybody's journey is the same. And I'm not a doomsdayer, oh, the glass is half empty. I do believe that glass is half full. And I do believe that this next phase gets to be the best phase. But the number one thing to do would be put yourself first. And we've all put ourselves dead last, because that's what we were trained to do. We put ourselves dead last. Everyone else is taken care of in our lives and we're dead last. So start putting yourself first and taking some time for yourself, and then evaluate where you need help and support. And there's tons of resources. It could just be going on a 2-hour hike with a girlfriend. Because I'm telling you, girlfriends are going to get us to being 100 years old. They 100%. Make the time for the important people in your life. The second thing I would say is look at what's draining you on your calendar. This seems like very simple advice, but it's really hard to do. So it goes to that our yes culture of yeah, I don't want to let anybody down. So I'm going to go to that lunch. I'm going to go to that party. I'm going to do the thing at the PTA. I'm going to run the thing. I'll do the thing. At this point, no one has all that time. And you've got to take the things off your list that kind of make you guys sigh and go, if you start to contract, that's a good sign to get rid of it. And then you can start adding things in. And this goes to self-care and putting yourself first and doing things that just make you happy. And it doesn't have to mean anything except that it makes you happy. But again, it goes against all that. And as much as I'm telling this to you, I'm telling this to myself again. Take a pottery class, go salsa dancing, take a horseback riding lesson, take music lessons. I just met a gal yesterday who's starting stand-up comedy. She's like, why not? I'm like, go girl. I bet it's probably the scariest thing you could do. But I'm starting with just go join a running club or go to yoga, go to a different gym, just start expanding what you're doing. So getting rid of the negative stuff and adding in the positive stuff. And then I know at this point in time, there's a lot of transitions with friendships. And one of, my podcasts, and I had a newsletter that talked about friendships. They're some of my most watched and listened to things, because at this transition of kids are growing older, we were thrown together. These are for everyone who you didn't have kids. This is sorry, I'm just speaking to the folks who have kids right now. We get thrown together a lot with folks, and that's kind of how you do your friendships. But then kids move away, all of a sudden you're like, where do I find friends? And then maybe you work for yourself and now you're isolated. You need people. You need people. So the best way to do it is open yourself up to new adventures. Go listen to a book lecture. If you live in the Bay Area, come to any one of my events. Go to any event that a woman is putting together, listen, like an author. Try a new gym, a yoga studio. There's all these great, beautiful communities, because we really need each other. And then the last thing I'll say too is, if you're kind of stuck and you haven't done anything for a while, and maybe you're not working, or you're between jobs, and you're kind of trying to figure things out, start doing some things that make you happy. Take a class, or I did coaching training a million years ago. I didn't know what that was going to do. And then I did yoga teacher training because I love yoga. I thought for 5 minutes I was going to be a yoga teacher, and I'm not. I'm a practitioner of it. And that just happened to, deepen my practice. But I met all these wonderful women, and it was a great experience. And that was after I had that sort of breakdown I was telling you about. I was like, I cannot do PR anymore. I've got to I took some time, but that sort of put the breadcrumbs on the path that opened up to all the next stuff that I'm doing. So I think we tend to pile on and go, every decision I make, if I take a class at the junior college or if I go to this thing, then it means that that's what I'm doing for the rest of my life. No, ma'am. Just do one little thing and then see where that goes. You might meet somebody. You guys might go into business together. I mean, anything can happen. So, and I know y'all, it's so much easier said than done. We sometimes just have to get out of our own way. But if you hear nothing of what I just said, it's putting yourself first. It's just and not feeling guilty about it because you have been taking care of everyone and everything and all the things to date.
And I think it has gotten better as far as, more women are starting their own businesses, doing their own thing, being entrepreneurs. And then if that's not your thing and you're in a career where you're not your own boss, women that are rising up into leadership roles, maybe leadership isn't your thing. I'm just wondering, even though we've come a long way, we still have a long way to go. I'm thinking about Shawna and I are both, and any woman that's an entrepreneur, you're kind of in a male-dominated world just out of the gate, right there. And then depending on what kind of business, it can be even more so that way. Both of she and I are in the fitness business, and that has definitely been a male-dominated world for a long time. And then I'm also in real estate investing, and that's a very male-dominated field as well. So what advice, because we've come a long way and hopefully even some younger ladies are listening to this and this is inspiring them to realize just how long of a road they have to be amazing and do everything they want to do, whether they have kids, whether they don't have kids. So how would you, or do you have experience in just maneuvering challenges that are still in the way for ladies, or maybe a little bit more tough for us gals to maneuver, because even though things are better, there's still challenges. So what advice do you have?
I will say too, being in business being an entrepreneur, it's just tough.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or not. It's tough.
It's just tough. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yes.
It's a lot harder. And I've worked for myself since 2003. So I really don't know any other way. And I'm probably really, truly not employable anymore at this point because I've just done it. My husband, he's a real estate broker. And so he's also been working for himself. And our families are like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, we're so far into this now. We don't know any other way of the blood, sweat, and tears and the suffering. But, the trade-offs where we were able to do certain things for our family, travel differently. I was, able to go to the games and do the things. So that was a choice. It was, sometimes I was like, I should just go work at Google. What am I doing to myself? But ultimately, you kind of figure it out. And I don't push entrepreneurship on everybody. I think we're all great resources, but it is hard. But you don't have to go out and be huge about it. You can just consult. If you're an accountant and you don't want to work for that firm anymore, you can grab some clients and then go, do it on your own type thing. So kind of it's your level of, I guess, pain and excitement and adventure, and every venture will have different challenges. But I think specifically for women, and I will speak for myself and I will speak for every single woman I've ever spoken with, talked to, been a part of a group discussion on, it's asking for money and getting paid. I feel like men do have that easier because we just all value men's time differently. I don't know if you guys follow Eve Rodsky at all. And she talks about, unpaid labor and how men's time, what did she say? Men's time, I'm going to get it wrong, but something to the effect that men's time is like diamonds, super precious. And women's time is like sand. It's just endless amounts that just goes up. So, and she was talking in relation to just all the unpaid labor, because, there's the 9-to-5 job we all have, and then there's the job after that. So most women, I'm speaking in generalizations, but in general, most women take care of all this other stuff. And so that's why I think it's really hard, and women get tripped up on asking for money. Actually, I just had a guest on she's so amazing, and she scares me in the best possible way, because she's worked at these billion-dollar companies and run these large organizations, and she's just so practical and pragmatic about how we just get tripped up on getting paid what we're worth. Now, getting paid what we're worth isn't some arbitrary, like, I think I'm worth $10,000 an hour and I have 1 day of experience being a personal trainer. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, that's not the going rate for the market, right? So it's like, you're obviously doing your research on whatever you do, if it's accounting, if it's marketing or whatever you're doing. And then there's the extra little for your super sizzle and your experience and whatever. But you also have to, I think, so two things. We get tripped up and no one's going to pay us. And we feel in our minds that people expect us to work for free, which we have to get over that. And I've seen time and time again, it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you. Like, oh, can you just do this? Or can you, women in service businesses in particular get this a lot. Can I just take you out to lunch and then you could give me some tips on blah, blah, blah? No, actually, no, because this is how I get paid. And so it's hard to say, it's hard to say no, but you have to just learn to, it could be like a pricing structure. I've counseled clients who were like trying to chase people for money. I said, just put a payment gateway on your Calendly. So if they want a 30-minute brain dump with you, then they go in your Calendly and they pay you for the 30 minutes and there's brain dump. And if they don't book the thing, then great. Then you're not working for free. And I'm not saying don't give your friend like 5 minutes of advice on something, but putting some guardrails and structures in place and really working on, especially I'll just speak to all you entrepreneurs, like making sure you're getting in the rooms, in whatever, like virtual rooms, real rooms of where your actual people are. So making sure that that those people that are in that place that you're investing time and maybe money in are the people that could be potential clients. Because a lot of times we're marketing to the wrong people. We're not in front of the right people. So then you're like, here's my coaching program, or here's my fitness challenge, or here's my retreat. And then it's crickets. It's most likely because you're just not in front of the right people. But I think also a lot of women are just afraid to ask for the sale. And that's just something we all collectively need to work on. So just like I said, getting bulletproof on what your offers are, like where you're showing up, putting those payment gateways. And I've done that and I've sent that off to, there's always those people that will come time and time again. Can I get your advice? I'm like, well, I've helped you 10 times. So yeah, you can book a time. And then if they fade away, that's fine. They can't book a time. It is hard in service businesses because you're also needing to educate on what you provide and what you offer. And I will say this too, and I don't know if you just work all with women or men and women. Women too, historically, and if this is like in the personal development realm, women aren't used to investing in themselves. So this is just another PSA for women when I'm talking to y'all about like taking time for yourself and investing in yourself. Like we will pay money for kids' club soccer. We'll do all the things like a daughter needs like shiny new shoes for something. And it comes to us, you're like, oh God, I couldn't possibly pay that for myself just to get some education or coaching or to get fit. And so I would challenge everybody just to think about what's the cost of not doing it. Like I've always had, like I have a big business coach now because I'm doing some big pivoting and like wanting to do a couple different new things. And you don't know what you don't know. So I know I need to invest in that to get to the next place. I've got to go with the person who's done the thing that I want to do. So I hope I answered your question and gave you guys a little bit of advice. But, at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. But the other thing I'll say too, which is really important, and we'll probably talk about the power of collaborations and connections, is, it can be a lonely road, but look at whoever's even in your industry, those are your collaborators. So, I've been at tables where, there were a bunch of other people doing what I was doing. I'm like, I don't care, pick me, pick her, but we're all in this together and we can all support each other. And I think the guys probably do this a lot better. Like they're kind of like, hey, I want to get you rich. Let's go golfing and talk about how we're going to get rich things. And women just shy away from those conversations. And so, y'all, I'm telling you this as much as to me, this is something I've had to really step into myself. It's like, how can we do this together? And we all want to like change the world and help people, but you also need to get paid.
Well,
right?
I think whether it's in business, in entrepreneurship, anything, we get what we tolerate, and women tend to tolerate a lot more. And what I'm hearing you say is in every realm of life, we need to value ourselves enough to ask the hard questions, step up and step into our own power and recognize our own talents and not diminish it. Like, I think maybe women tend to have the imposter syndrome. I know everyone experiences it to a certain degree, but I feel like women probably feel that a lot, maybe more. But you're talking a lot about business, which is very true. We're all in business, but not all our listeners are. But the same principles apply. If you want to get fit, get in a room, find fit friends that are, do enjoy some fitness things so that you can kind of work with them. Or if you want to get into business, find people that are interested or have similar interests. But it's the same message. I think you are applying it a little bit more to entrepreneurship, but I think it applies across the board.
100%. Because you'd asked me about business, but what I would say too is that it's having, being clear about your self-worth. That's for dating, especially. That's probably the number one thing too, is so you're not, making repeat patterns and maybe making repeat bad mistakes if you're looking for love. And not settling. So it's not settling for anything. It's not settling for toxic friends. It's not settling for a narcissistic next husband or boyfriend or partner or what have you. It's not settling for anything, like where you want to travel, where you want to live, how you want to live your life, and knowing that, you're worthy of it. You're worthy of the life you envision for yourself. And so I think so much of, what's been fed to us, rather, it's like this race to the bottom. It's kind of like, oh, well, give me scraps. Like, I'd rather be alone with my dignity than be in a relationship. I'd rather have one friend versus 10 if that one friend was the right friend. And I've always told, like, everyone I've worked with and just friends in general, like, if you walk in somewhere, like you walk into a yoga studio or a Pilates studio, a fitness studio, and you just think, or an event, and you just think you're going to meet the most amazing people, guess what? When you come in with that attitude, you are going to meet the most amazing people. But if you come in, because a lot of us have sister wounds and there's old friend wounds and things like that, if you think all women are catty and bitchy and this and that, and you walk in somewhere and you think that's what you're going to find, that's what you're going to find. So it's really just kind of like, I can't remember that old adage. It's like, it's not what you see, it's the glasses. I can't remember what that was. But it's like, if you expect the best, and that goes into, I'm going to have a great workout today, or I'm going to go into a meeting and I'm like, I expect I'm going to land this client because we're going to work so great together, or I'm going to go partner on something new with this gal who's doing something over here, and let's see what it is. And I just think it's going to be fabulous and amazing. Let's go do it. And you do it and it's fabulous and amazing. I mean, the attitude has so much to do with it. And just don't sell yourself short, because all of you listening are worthy just as you are. You don't need another degree. You don't need to lose 5 pounds. You don't need to get a nose job. Like, you are worthy just as you are. We have to actively kind of rage against all that negative messaging. And y'all, it gets fed to us day in and day out. Anti-aging, this, that, the other, weight loss. I mean, it's constant. And so you have to be really discerning about what you're also allowing into your feeds, into your life. So that's friends, it's family, it's social media, it's the news. So be very discerning about who and what you allow into your world.
And I love that you're giving ladies that encouragement that we are worthy. And that is huge. Jen, if you had a wish for our listeners today, what would it be?
My one wish is that you would just believe in yourself. Put yourself first. Know that you're not too old. It's not too late. You're right on time. And you get to do whatever the hell you want.
And my wish would be that us gals invest in ourselves and feel good about that instead of that imposter syndrome. Let's just get over and do it anyway. Shawna?
And my wish would be that we do value ourselves in whatever season we find ourselves, because, as we get into our 40s and 50s and 60s, they can become challenging seasons where we may be devaluing our self-worth, and that's really when we're getting better. So we need to surround ourselves with people that lift us up and value ourselves first.
Thanks for listening. You'll find me, Alli, on Instagram at Alli Kerr Fitness.
And you'll find me, Shawna, on Instagram at Shawna Kaminski. Feel free to pop us a DM with questions and or feedback. If you're enjoying the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, please subscribe and share it with other health-minded women. Ratings and reviews are also much appreciated and help us get our message out to a larger audience.
Until next time, be healthy and be happy.